take a second and just think about our brothers and sisters over in the Appalachians. I just sat and watched videos on this last night after we got into the hotel and then this morning. It's unbelievable what they're going through there right now. And FEMA and our federal government is doing what they're doing. It's not okay. It's not acceptable. Okay? And it's time for the people to stand up and say enough's enough. And I think we are absolutely past that. I'm done with it. Millions of Americans are done with it. I am tired of people trying to separate us by race, by religion, by color, creed, and all of those things. Who does that? The federal government does that so they can keep statistics on everything, and then they can create problems between the different people. That's not acceptable. At the end of the day, we are all Americans.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
In every war and every skirmish that this country has fought in, the blood that went into the ground knew no color except red. And that's a fact. And we have given too many lives for needless wars and things like that. It has to stop. So I'm going to get off my little soapbox because this morning has just upset me greatly about what's happening to our fellow Americans. And I pray for them. And I wish there was more that we could do. And then I started thinking about it. Well, there is something we can do. It's called voting. And it's called getting out there, educating the public, and voting. And that's the biggest thing we have to do. Okay? All right, I can't see what slides up. All right, here we go. So the information that I'm going to be giving you is information that really hasn't been released. And you guys are going to be pretty much the first to see a lot of it that I'm going to be going over. Okay? One of the mechanisms that we have to look at right now on how money is getting into our political infrastructure is Act Blue. I'm sure you guys have all seen this stuff with James O'Keefe, with the smurfing and things of that nature. So what I'm going to do, I hate being up on stage, so I'm going to come down here where I can see these monitors. They're my cheat sheet, keep me on task. So what we have, I'm sure you guys all remember Justin Jones. He was one of the Tennessee Three that was an activist after the school shooting there in Nashville. And I believe Justin has about 16 charges on him that the district attorney, Glenn Funk, refuses to bring to the table that are still sitting there. He's also a social justice activist, okay? What did we see during the COVID stuff in 2020? We saw all the stuff happening with Antifa, them coming in, putting out pallets of bricks throughout the different cities. They were burning down the cities, they were burning down the courthouses, they were doing that. I'm telling you right now, I'm sure you guys have all heard about the tires getting slashed off of I-40 in West Tennessee coming this way. Okay, that's going to be the same people. The funding from Antifa is going into the same people doing that because they're trying to create discord. Okay, that's not discord, that's terrorism. Okay, that's terrorism. That's what terrorism looks like. So Justin Jones is a social justice warrior, or I would consider him a terrorist, as well as Maxwell Frost, who's one of the youngest congressmen in U.S. history out of Florida. Can we have the next slide? All right, so what we found is smurfing that was going on in majority of counties in the state of Tennessee. So that's large amount of money from unknown sources gets distributed to PACs and candidates through multiple small donations, $25 or less. What we've been able to discern is donors tend to be elderly, lower to middle class, retired or unemployed. Many of the donors do not know that their identity is being used, which is a crime in and of itself. It's identity theft. And multiple spellings of names and addresses are common. Smurfs in Tennessee, May of 2023, we identified Smurfs in most every Tennessee county. So think about that. In every county, we pretty much identified this activity. August 2023, we had just identified some other things. Justin Jones and most of the Democrat candidates use ActBlue process online campaign donations. So with them being a state political person, they will receive the funds through the website. And that's how they take in their funds. What we found is the timing of donation spikes to Jones strongly suggests that donations are being manipulated and are not organic. These aren't just people that have come forward and say, hey, I want to give to Justin Jones for these activities and make sure that he is supported, okay? That means that it comes in a flow that's kind of equal. It ebbs and flows. You know, there's so many people, so many of these political analysts who are doing the math on all of this stuff. They know about this ebb and flow, okay? That means what he took in was not organic. A series of identical donations made to Maxwell Frost and Justin Jones suggests Murphy donations flowed from Frost over to Jones through ActBlue. Can we go to the next slide? So this is the activity that we identified. April 6th, he was removed from the Tennessee House. And then you have massive donation days, mostly from out of state. Why do we have out of state people giving to a local legislator? Doesn't make sense, right? April 10th, reinstated. Major outlets like Rolling Stone report on his reinstatement. 18th, special primary date announced. 19th, announced visit to the White House. So what have they done? He's been a good soldier. He's been brought to the White House to be publicized for all of the, you're gonna have to forgive me for this. I'm not a Republican. I'm not a Democrat. As a police officer for over 20 years, the Constitution is what has been bred into me along with okay? When our founding fathers saw the two-party system, they knew back then that a two-party system wouldn't work, and it hasn't, okay? So when I say this stuff, I'm not just attacking Democrats. I'm gonna attack some Republicans here, and that's what's got me in trouble right now while they're trying to come after me. So he has his visit to the White House. June 15th, there's a special primary. And then August 3rd, you have Jones wins the election. So what we found with the smurfing is on June 30th of 2023, we had 422 identical donations come into Justin Jones through his website that is connected to ActBlue. And then we had these same exact people give the same exact amount on the same day to Maxwell Frost through ActBlue. That is a mathematical improbability. It didn't happen. Somebody did something nefarious to be able to move funds over to Mr. Jones, okay? So we have to figure out, number one, where does the money enter the system? If we can go to the next slide. These identical ActBlue donations to both candidates must be investigated. That's what we're trying to do. During the time frame, by the way, while he was in session, and Justin Pearson and the other state representative out of Knoxville, the Tennessee 3, we found a GoFundMe page where I believe it was $55,000 that they took in donations, which is illegal because it's in session. Can't anybody charge anybody though. Why? Because our local government and our state government is corrupt. It has been for a very long time. So anyways, there are likely other state candidates that have contributions that are identical to federal candidates that need to be identified and investigated. Seeing the origins of the ActBlue campaign contributions will fill in the missing pieces of information regarding where the funds originated and how they get from ActBlue state level candidates. All right, we've already been to the Tennessee State Attorney General. What people don't understand with the State Attorney General is he is not an elected constitutional position like the other states, okay? He's pretty much an appointed position. And what we have found is his authority has pretty much been gutted over the years. And what people don't understand is I've been investigating this case for over 14 years. It started out with a narcotics trafficking case where we took down $1 million load of narcotics. And what I found through that time is I had to educate myself on Tennessee history, and we found where different little things were being manipulated within the law, just amendments and things like that. But that was them preparing the stage. That was them building the infrastructure for them to be able to move into the corruption like we have today. You have to build it so you can have it, okay? If we can go to the next slide, okay? So with Act Blue, we had to ask 3 questions. When was Act Blue started and created? How is the money generated? Where does the money enter the system? Those are the 3 critical questions in our investigation that we started. We can go to the next slide. What we found is Act Blue was started in Somerville, Massachusetts in 2005. Act Blue started out as a nonprofit and then has progressed into an LLC. The reason it progresses into an LLC is because they no longer have to be, they no longer have to provide public information through FOIA requests. So they just shut that door completely down so that the only way you can get the information on the donors and all of that is going to be through a judicial subpoena or a warrant, okay? So that's why they turned it into an LLC, and they've changed names several different times. We can go to the next slide. The best way to identify money entering a system is to look at the employees, look at the infrastructure that they have put in place with their people to be able to bring the money in. We have to follow the money. We can go to the next slide. All right, the first person we looked at is Regina Louise Wallace Jones. She is the CEO of Act Blue. We can go to the next slide. These are her homes over the years, okay? Now, I had News Channel 5 dox me, as well as another news agency, after my home was shot up, or before my home was shot up, about 2 weeks before my home was shot up. I had about 16 rounds dumped into my house, my outbuilding, and my vehicles when I started coming out with some of this information. So I don't want anybody else to get hurt, even though we can share the information. We're not going to, because we're not going to be those people. So that's why I've taken off the physical numbers on that, okay? We're not going to be the people that's going to let somebody get hurt, all right? So what we see here is the homes that she has owned, okay? And we see 4 different listings for current, and so we're going to go through these. What these are A's and B's. So that's when the home is purchased, and then you have the mortgage come through. All right, so if we go to the next slide. All right, what we have here is one of the houses on Cameron Lane. She had bought the house in 2005, in July of 2005, for $600,000. Got a mortgage for $480,000, or excuse me, she sold it, and the person bought it for $600,000 and a $480,000 loan to mortgage it. The same exact day, it was sold for $600,000 and mortgaged for an additional $540,000 through Mortgage Inc. Then it went back and forth to the point that we have a sale of $60 million. Okay? And then on the same day, we have an additional $60 million, okay? So we have 4 sales on one day for that house. We only show 2 mortgage companies. The reason we only show 2 mortgage companies is because the other ones are cash private lenders. That way they don't have to identify who is providing the money. So we had somebody come in and provide all of this money to her for the sale of the house. Something's not right with that, okay? All right, we go to the next slide. This is another property, and basically, you can see where it's going back and forth again, and you have her husband right here on October 10th, 2005, no sale amount, and does not give anything. That again is cash money coming through to a private person, private buyer. We have no idea how much money moved on that. The next one, $303,240. Okay, I can go with that. If we look down here and we see the assessed value, $650,210,000. Of course, that's today. That wasn't in 2005. I'm sure it wasn't worth that in 2005. But On the exact same day, we show that Regina comes back on to the mortgage paperwork, and we see a $30,324,000 sale. Now it has a $22,800,000 private cash lender. Okay, this is what money crime looks like. All right. Then it goes back to Regina on 12/11/16 for the normal price and a normal mortgage. But one of the things that I learned even in public school with the way it is when it goes from 12/12/2003, the next sale should be 1/10/2005. But no, this was manipulated because the next one is 1/11/2005. Now, I may have went to public school, but I'm pretty sure 11 comes after 10. Okay? We have an issue here. We can go to the next slide. Another property of hers. Okay? We're seeing the exact same activity with cash buyers and private lenders. This home right now has an assessed value of $536,270. We're seeing the exact same thing, except this time we're seeing a $27,132,000 loan, or sale with a $20 million loan. All right? I'm sorry. You know, if we had a good FBI might call that a clue. Next one, we can go to the next slide. So here's another one. What we found at this place is this company, Clearum Company, gave them, let's see, on one day, 5/21/22, 5/21/22, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sales. Okay? 689,500, 689,500, 689,500, 68,950,000, 68,950,000, and we know these are separate because it's separate loan amounts: 55,125,000, 10,035,000, cash buyer, cash lender. Could this be where the money's coming from for Act Blue? So we then have to ask, how does that person get that much money? Where is it coming from? Okay? We can go to the next slide. I'd like to say that Regina was the only one that we found like that. She was not. This is the CFO. Makes sense, CFO, right? So who better? So Nicole Paulding, if you can go to the next slide. They actually used this address as the corporation private headquarters, and it's her personal residence. Okay? We can go to the next slide. What we find is the exact same thing where she had bought the house for $502,500 at a $402,000 mortgage. Then we see a private sale, private loan of $50,250,000 with a private loan of $40,200,000 this year, or 2015. So I haven't even had a chance to go through all of the executives at Act Blue yet. And they have numerous Act Blues around the country. So if we have Act Blues in multiple cities in 50 states, and we have one or two of their employees bringing in this kind of money through fraudulent sales, and this whole corrupt money mechanism that we believe we see right here, I mean, it's pretty, to me, this warrants a further investigation. But think of how much money that is coming in to each state to go into funding all the things that we're seeing with Act Blue. It's literally hundreds of millions of dollars by the time you break it down. But we have to figure out where that's coming from. If we can go to the next slide. So are these mortgages and sales legal? It does not appear to be that way right now. We have attempted to get the mortgages on these homes. I use LexisNexis as one of my resources because law enforcement uses it, the courts use it, and the real estate agents use it. So I want to use the same tools that they use to be able to build a case, all right? So we went through LexisNexis and tried to order the mortgages. One of the mortgages shows right off the bat, not on file. How can you have a sale and a deed that's that's not on file from 2005 with Regina, and it just happens to be the same time that Act Blue started. That doesn't make sense. So we try to get the deeds before and after that, not on file. We try to do it for Nicole's Fault, not on file. So we have people on the ground in Connecticut who are going to the locations and trying to pull the mortgages, or trying to pull the deeds by hand. It's the only thing we have left to do. But what we have found is property assessors through the IAAO, the International Assessor Association Office, is also involved in this. And you have to think about that. The IAAO breaks down by the county, and they have all of the tax information, which means they pretty much know how many voters they have, right? So that's gonna go hand in hand with your demographics, so they know how many people are there and how many they can manipulate, okay? Could this be the money area Act Blue that is being used for smurfing? I would probably say there's a good fair chance. This is enough reasonable suspicion to warrant further investigation. I have seen investigations started on people for less. Heck, let's look at President Trump and what they've done to him, trying to create all this stuff with him, and Ken Paxton and all that, right? And they can't take a minute just to look into something like this? That's because the FBI has been weaponized, all right? They have been absolutely weaponized. The group of law enforcement that is supposed to work for us and maintain the civil liberties of our citizens has been weaponized against the very citizens that they are supposed to be protecting in their civil rights. That's not okay, and it's not acceptable, and it has to change.
Yes.
We can go to the next slide. What else is Act Blue financially backing? All right, y'all aren't gonna like this, but it is what it is. We can have the next slide. What I was able to trace out is Act Blue went into a phone number, went into a guy by the name of Matthew Barry Gallis or something, whatever his name is. And what we found is the owners, executives, and other nonprofits that they're a part of, okay? What we found is it started funding the whole COVID narrative, okay, directly. The people who are involved with Act Blue as owners and executives have other nonprofits that directly went into the whole stay at home. Let's go get the clock shot. Okay, that's the agenda that they pushed. The next thing we see is Magente. Magente is for the transsexual Latino community and pushing the whole transsexual thing upon us, which is what we are seeing in a major way in the city of Nashville and Davidson County. At Nashville and Davidson County, at the Metropolitan Police Department, we now have gay pride officers. I've got no problem with that, but nobody should know my sexuality as a police officer, okay? What a police officer does in his home with his wife is his business. He doesn't need to bring that out to the public, but yet here in Metro Police Department, the government is pushing this agenda along with these corrupt people. They also have a furry, by the way, that likes to lick the back of his hands while they're on calls. I want to know how an individual like that has passed a psychological. Generally, when you get into stuff like that, from what I have read, is they have had some type of trauma that they have not dealt with and ended up doing something like this to be able to be a coping mechanism. Okay, whatever, we're not going to get into all that. So, but then we have the stay at home and the Magente that goes into civic action, which is also another social justice warrior program that they've put together. And we've identified who they are. We have the Auburn Quad. We have stuff that goes into some of the unions. And we have this neat little thing, and I know y'all can't see it from back there. It's NetBSD. NetBSD has these little graphic guys up here, and they're called daemons. Daemons are the things that run in the background of your computer, okay? And it actually means demon when you look it up, okay? What you have them standing on is a platform of computer hardware, monitors and things like that. You see them lifting their flag and pitching it forward. This is the exact same symbol that we see in Iwo Jima with them planting the flag. You will know us by our symbols. Okay? Kimberly Peeler She's an interesting one. She goes into the Fund for Public Health out of New York City. They're the ones who kept pushing the whole COVID narrative in New York and trying to force a clot shot. You got to stay home, close down your business. Same people, okay? So we have money going into that. But we also have it going into the Higher Heights for America. Guess who that backs? That's on their front page. Kamala Harris. Guess who else it backs? Letitia James. Okay? Then we find it goes into the International Health Network and the Population Council and Center for Biomedical Research. Are you starting to see some things connected here? I would say that they are probably up to some nefarious things and moving money illegally to be able to keep things going. Kind of like, I don't know, that guy, Dr. Fauci, who started some stuff over in China, maybe? I would say that's pretty much the roadmap that they have, right? So, this is just a piece of the puzzle that I've been putting together over the 14 years, and this has been since the whole COVID narrative in Act Blue. One of the main things that I've been working on, like I told you, was a narcotics case and a human trafficking case that ties directly to the state of Tennessee here, over in Hardin County, McNairy County, and of course you all know who Buford Pusser is. And it was down there, it's some of the same very people that he was, fighting and stuff like that. What we found is that went into the political spectrum. It went into people like Governor Blanton. If you guys remember, he got arrested for Operation 10 Car for selling paroles and pardons. It goes into Governor McWhorter. It goes into Lamar Alexander. All of these people are tied together and have been put in place for very specific reasons to be able to help build an infrastructure here in the state of Tennessee, because they have to be able to control our roadways, our waterways, because we are a pass-through state, okay? So they have to be able to have control. The other thing that we are investigating is not only that, but also what that case went into with bank fraud. And we were finding hundreds of millions of dollars being run through banks. We were finding places on the Tennessee River that were trailers that were 1,703 square feet, but yet below them they had 3,200 square foot basements on the river. You guys live on a river, you know you don't put a basement on a river. It's gonna flood. But yet they had 3,200 square foot basement on the river with 15-foot ceilings. They had direct access to the waterway. Could we be moving product and people? Very possibly. So this ended up turning into a case that the Homeland Security had adopted from me that we kept trying to move forward. So over the years, we've been working on that case, and then it went into stuff locally in Nashville. It went into human trafficking that we believe was being run through the drug court in Nashville, that we have had numerous deaths tied to that have been said are accidental and suicide. Okay? We've looked into these deaths and they want further investigation. This goes into the election process. We identified people at the city of Millersville that did not live in the city of Millersville, that were allowed to register to vote years before their home was built in Millersville with a Millersville address. We have all the proof being the actual property information where they were doing the inspections and all of that for when they were building the property, when they got their water meter put in, when the electrical meter was put in, and we were able to prove 100% this person didn't live here. The mayor and the vice mayor went to the district attorney's office and said, this is not okay, we want to investigate it. Guess what the DA said? You're a new mayor, you need to pay attention to what you're doing. Okay? That's what the DA said. Now, I've got 15 to 20 deaths in my county right now, or in my city right now, that they will not allow us to do autopsies on. The district attorney will not allow autopsies. One of the other cases that's very strange, you guys may have heard of, is the Solomon case with Grant and Gracie Solomon, where Grant was supposedly run over by his own vehicle, and his father, he was going to testify against his father for his father molesting he and his sister. And Dad didn't see the vehicle running Grant over. Where did that take place? Sumner County, the same place I'm talking about. It goes into the DA's office, it goes into judges, and these people we've had and have been looking at that are tied directly to the housing stuff that we're seeing in what we call magic mortgages, okay? We see that they're on the peripheral of this, so that's how we know that they're involved. So these are the things that we were investigating in the city of Millersville. So we started investigating this, and we found a security company called Solarian Risk Management, which was out of Nashville. The owner happened to be a reserve police officer at the city of Millersville, and he also had a political PAC, the We Are Ready Nashville PAC, which we found some very strange amounts of money coming in from Maricopa County, Arizona. And he was giving a ton of money to the local district attorney, Glenn Funk, who himself has been under investigation numerous times, but mysteriously, they just can't get him. They just can't get him. So we were investigating all of this. I had contacted the administrative office of the courts back in February, March, talked with them. They helped me start the investigation, talked with the Department of Commerce and Insurance and all their top attorneys there, had meetings with them, was in emails with them, all of this documentation is there. So once I got to the point where I had probable cause, I asked to start a task force between all of these agencies to help stop this corruption that is permeating our state. They're like, absolutely, we're 100% behind you. We ended up having a Teams meeting. They looped in the TBI analyst, and I was able to get access to what are called FinCEN reports or financial reports and start digging out the financials. Well, guess what? We got returns. We had a lot of money moving in a lot of areas. And mysteriously, we did a child trafficking op. And the child trafficking op, it was pretty successful. Had a guy ride over 25 miles to try to have sex with a 12-year-old girl. He rode a bicycle up the side of the interstate to try to have sex with a 12-year-old girl. Well, the next thing we know, Phil Williams starts coming after us, starts attacking us, starts attacking our credibility, calling me conspiracy cop. Okay, well, we gotta look at who started that term. The CIA started that term. Why? To take the credibility away of somebody who actually had the evidence to be able to bring to court, to hold people accountable. So they started the smear campaign. He's probably done about 30 stories on me so far. Conspiracy cop this, conspiracy cop that, ultra MAGA Christian conspiracy cop. He made fun of us because we had prayer warriors on the op. Can you imagine that, making fun of somebody because they had prayer warriors present? So he's attacking us and attacking us and attacking us, and he's basically said that I am mentally ill and should not have a gun or a badge. So basically, what is that? That is your progressive liberal movement doing what? Taking away your right to the First Amendment and attacking you for free speech that is political, which is the number one thing that your First Amendment is there for, is for your political free speech. And they are tired of us speaking up. So they're trying to make an example out of me to make the other cops not come forward and speak and to hold the Constitution, up there like they should. All the other cops got their heads down and they're like, I'm not going to deal with that. So we have some good people in our city. We have some bad people, but the good people stood up for me. And even though they were calling for my job, these people are patriots, good followers of Christ, and they backed me. We were able to show all the lies that Phil Williams had told. They backed me, and they backed my agency. Well, that just made Phil and this group of people even madder, so they come at us even more. To the point that the district attorney asked the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation to start an investigation on us. So they did. The next thing I know, they come in with search warrants at our agency and my private home. They take all of our computers and all of the documents on the investigations that we have regarding the corruption that we've been investigating. I find it awfully funny that they're trying to get that when we were trying to share it with them and we had this whole task force going and TBI was read in. The administrative office of the courts was read in. The Department of Commerce and Insurance was read in to the point that they have, I believe it's 61 or 62 administrative charges on one of the individuals, but yet that administrative court case has been put off until after the first of the year. Okay? So, in the search warrant, it literally states the reason they're doing this is because I was doing this investigation. That there was no complaint, therefore it was official misconduct for me to have this investigation on these elected officials. So you're telling me that an officers who see something happening or somebody brings something to them, they're not supposed to start an investigation on something within their municipality? I thought that was our job. So they literally executed a search warrant based on that. They executed a search warrant wanting the phones and all the information that we had on the child trafficking on. So that immediately makes me think, who were we talking to on the other end of that phone that we just haven't got the information on yet that may be very politically connected? But they took it all. They took all the information on probably, I don't know, 30 cases that were brought to me privately that have to do with murder victims that died mysteriously that they said, with accidental deaths and things like that out of Putnam County, Cookville. They took all the information on cases that are protected under attorney-client privilege because a lot of these victims' families went to the attorney to try to get something done and civilly to move their case forward so they could find out how their loved one died. And I was helping them do that through this attorney on the side. This is all protected information. They literally took confidential information between the attorneys and I. It was a sealed search warrant, which means nobody's supposed to know about the search warrant. Mysteriously, News Channel 5 Phil Williams showed up within minutes of the search warrant being executed, which, by the way, they held us at the police department and refused to let us leave. That means that we were being detained. We were not under arrest, but we were being detained. That is illegal. So Phil Williams shows up with his news crew. What we noticed, who arrived at the TBI? Their press secretary. Why is the press secretary from the TBI going to be going with them on a sealed search warrant unless they are expecting company from other news media? I think we got a problem there. We have also since found out that members of the Portland community, which is just north of us, had information about the search warrants 2 weeks previous to them being issued, and these were sealed search warrants. Okay? They tried to say that we didn't have a right to do this, that I was doing it for my own political motivation, and that we were wrong. Well, that's not true. Senator Boland was kind enough to come to my residence and go through about a 4-hour briefing that I'm sure she was ready to go on because she had a long drive, and listen to it. My chief of police, my city manager, and I were able to come up to Senator Boland's office and brief her again. And that was, February, March, somewhere in there, at the time that we began these investigations. We have briefed numerous people, including the State Attorney General himself, Jonathan Scrimetti, not only at Bud Halsey's office, but the State Attorney General was at my home for almost 4 hours, receiving this briefing. You know what he said? I have no criminal authority. I have no criminal authority. And I think a lot of that is because of the case that's out of Shelbyville, where the State Attorney General's office was trying to move in on a case that the DA out there was trying to fluff up on a death case. And so he ended up in court, and they said, nope, you're not a constitutionally elected officer, so nope, you can't do this. So we've got some problems in Tennessee that we really need to work on, okay? We need to work on some legislation to take away the judges and the district attorneys' prosecutorial immunity. Prosecutorial immunity is giving them a license to kill, rob, rape, and steal. That's all it's doing, okay? Because we can't hold them accountable. there's something that they're worried about, send it to the grand jury. That is what a grand jury is there for. It is a jury of your peers. All right, let them make that decision, not the DA. We have a case with a woman that went after this. Her name is Connie Reguli, who's out of the Williamson County area. They charged her with 3 felonies, to get her to stop. They even went and changed the law from the bench to be able to get her charged. They got warrants, search warrants on her that literally was direct client communications. It's illegal. You know what the detective said when she got up on stand? Well, Connie made me mad and I wanted to see what she was saying. I'm sorry, that's not probable cause. Okay? That is weaponization of the government. Connie fought these charges, went up to the Tennessee State Appeals Court. She's won, but they're refusing to give her back her law license. Okay? So what I'm telling you people is we have a lot of work to do here in this state. A lot. I haven't even gotten into totally into these magic mortgages. What we have found is we have a company that's tied to the UK, and in the UK it's nothing but a straw company. All right? And what they're doing is they're going into states in specific counties that are able to control the political atmosphere for the state. I found her moved into Williamson County from Maricopa County, Arizona. Maricopa County seems to be the nexus point for a lot of our voter fraud here. What was it, 250,000 votes, they think, this past week that they found? So what we found is large amounts of money coming here through an investment company that's going in and they'll buy 10 homes on one block, 10 homes on another block. They'll pay cash for it. They'll put maybe $10,000 into each house. Then they'll buy 2 homes on the same street, 2 homes on the other street. So now they have 24 homes. But when they buy those last 4 homes, they'll pay between $10,000 and $50,000 more than the asking price. So what have they done? They have now just artificially inflated the comps. Okay? So what they're doing is it's the same people that were involved in the Bear Stearns, the Lehman Brothers, all of that caused a housing crash in 2008. It was a subprime mortgage. They were borrowing money on property that didn't have the equity in it. And it failed. They have redone it, except now they have new backers. Okay, the backers is the BRICS nations. The backers are the cartel. Money's coming in, we've got it tied to all kinds of nefarious things. You know, we believe there's stuff that goes into child trafficking, human trafficking, narcotics trafficking. So what happens is they'll have these 14 homes that have been artificially inflated by $50,000. All right? Now, let's say they do that in 3 subdivisions in your county. What happens? They have now raised all the taxes. They've raised the comps in the area. So when your kids return from going to college or they want to be by mom and dad, they can't, because that $200,000 house is now $450,000 because the market has been artificially inflated. Okay? So then they turn it into rental properties. They turn it into rental properties, and what do? They bring in the people who are here illegally, who now, what do we see? FEMA's out of money. Why is FEMA out of money? Well, because we got Haitians moving into these rental homes. That's why. And what that has now done is it's kept first-time buyers from being able to buy a home. Then mom and dad can't afford the taxes on it anymore. They want to be close to the grandbabies, so they sell their home and they move. So now you have all these people move in. What I've just now created is a geopolitical shift. And we are finding billions and billions of dollars throughout the country in key states where this is happening. All right? So we have some major issues, major problems that we have to work on. And it's up to each and every one of us to educate. This is about education. We can't do anything until we're educated and we can actually go to the people that we need to go to and demand change. And let me tell you, sometimes it's just as small as changing a couple orders in legislation to get that change. We need to know where the money's coming from that is fueling this, and we need to identify it, because I promise you it's going to go back to the BRICS nations, which means that our government is doing business with our political adversaries, and that is treason. And treason is punishable by death. These people have sold out of their community. They have caused what's going to be generational bankruptcy. This is socioeconomic terrorism, which is being done on each and every one of us and the generations ahead of us. And it's not okay. You want to know why the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation is coming after me? You want to know why Ray Withy's coming after me? It's because they're attached to this in some way, shape, or form, and because they are political offices. And they have to keep this money going. They have to keep the cover-up going. If they don't, they know it's going to fall. It's going to fall.